Why, hello there. My name is Mountain, and today I'd like to talk to you about this. And what is this, you might ask? Well, this is the Bellroy Lite Duffel 30 liter. Now, as the name suggests, this is a very lightweight 30 liter duffel manufactured by Bellroy, the Australia-based manufacturer of some of my favorite bags that I've reviewed on the channel to date. Now, this is available in both a black and white or a chalk color, and it weighs about 600 grams. Its main claim to fame is that it's just a very light, simple, wide opening duffel, and I'll show you a lot more about that in a minute here, that makes it a great travel option for people looking for a minimalist weekender duffel, but want just a little bit more organization than the average just, empty one compartment bag. It also has a very, very good capacity to size and weight ratio due to the simple design and the kind of robust, lightweight fabrics that they're using. And you can already kind of see on these are recycled fabrics. You already kind of see on the camera that this is a very kind of lightweight fabric here. It has a simple large capacity inside, and that's this big main capacity here, that's balanced actually by a couple of internal organizational pockets in the back and on the sides, which I'll show you here in a moment, and also a simple front compartment, which also has a couple of pockets in there. The only notable exception to its organization is it doesn't have any kind of device like laptop or iPad compartment to store things in. This is just a very versatile bag. It's a good bag for like one bag travel, weekender, for two bag travel, I should say, or weekender style use. And it's felt enough to use as a Boston type bag, maybe like if you're going to go to the gym or something inside of the city. Now, it has a couple of weaknesses, and I've already mentioned one of them. There's nowhere to store a device in here, though you can obviously just drop one in. And this bi-directional asymmetrical zipper opening, which we've talked about actually previously when I showed you the Bellroy Venture Sling, is sort of an acquired taste. I've actually grown to like it, but some people may not like it because it does kind of enforce a little bit of a cognitive load in terms of which side you need to open, and also makes it a little bit harder to access the pocket or things on this closed side of the bag. And finally, the front pocketing here on the front of the bag can be a little bit tight at times since there's no real stretch to this outer fabric itself. So next, let's talk about who this bag is for and who it's not for. So in terms of who I think this bag is a great choice for, well, it's going to be a great choice for people who like weekenders or people on shorter trips, but who want something a little bit smaller and lighter than a full-fledged, heavy, leather weekender kind of, big, boxy, bulky thing. It has this really good capacity to weight ratio that I've talked about already, and it has a little bit of useful organization that I think greatly enhances its suitability for this task, because there are little places inside to keep like your bits and bobs, your notebooks or whatever, or your phone or some hand sanitizer inside of here. The bag really speaks to people like me with its philosophy, which is light and simple, nice functionality that reduces as much of the excess as possible, but still keeps enough that it's like functional. So again, you could just have a simple sack, and some duffels or weekenders are just that, a big simple sack, and that has its attractive points, but a little bit of organization goes a long way, and you don't spend a lot of like the weight of the bag on structure and on, heavy overbuilt fabrics, etc. It's still fairly robust though. I think this is also a really good choice for people who are looking for a gym use duffel, but want something a little bit smaller and lighter. As I've previously mentioned, like this bag zips way open. It's really easy to see everything. So I have all black stuff in here, but you'll be able to see when I show you internally. And that makes it able to swallow a bunch of bulky things like shoes, even like clothes, even things like boxing gloves, etc. will easily go inside of this bag. And while fashion is in the eye of the beholder, I do think that this is a fairly nice looking bag for urban use, maybe to carry to the gym. Like it doesn't look like a big, Adidas or Nike sports bag with that plasticky PVC material. It's like it's a bag you could bring to the office and then take it and go to the gym after that. I also think that this is a pretty good bag for two bag travel, especially by car or more civilized methods. There is a shoulder strap that attaches, on these ends here, which I'll show you in a minute. And while, I wouldn't recommend this as the sole bag that you bring with you, it pairs really well with like a larger sling, such as the Bellroy Venture Sling that I previously reviewed, or like a light backpack, or a packable backpack can also fit inside of here. I usually have this paired with a sling or something of that nature. I wouldn't just bring this, but you can, of course, keep your wallet and your phone and stuff in this front pockets as well. Anyway, nice choice, and I like that it's small and it kind of stores easily in the overhead bag, and it doesn't have a lot of excess weight. Again, 600 grams for this thing is not bad at all for the bag itself. Okay, so next, in terms of who this is not for, Well, I don't think that this is a great bag for people who want to carry laptops or devices for work or school. And I've mentioned this a couple times, so now I'll tell you why. So we zip the bag open, and I'm going to be able to show you here. Actually, let me lower this just a little bit here so we can see. If you can see inside of the bag, it's this huge opening that I already told you about. This is the front of the bag, and this is the back of the bag. There's no pocket for laptops, and this is how I carry the laptop. I just throw it in there in a case, and it fits in there, but there's no like padded laptop compartment. The front compartment itself also we'll go into all this in a minute here. It has no padding, it has no place to drop a laptop in there, so you're kind of stuck, especially if you've got like a bigger, chunkier laptop that you want to keep protected. Like, you're going to need to just drop it in there, and there's some padding on the bottom, but not like a ton, so not the best bag for that kind of thing. I also don't think that this is a great bag for people who want to carry a lot of heavy things, and I think that there's this inflection point when it comes to like the weight and the savings of like weight savings that comes from like having like a lighter, less structured bag. And then at a certain point, as you start to put more stuff inside of it, you're going to feel the compromise of that. You'll be better off actually investing in a heavier, more structured bag, even though, like, you know, again, the materials themselves are going to weigh more and just be bulkier. And so this one, I think that inflection point somewhere in the 6 to 8 kilogram range, depending on how you, what the items are and how you pack them in there. And so if you carry a lot of things regularly, if you're packing 8, 9, 10 kilograms in this bag, for me personally, it was around like 7 kilograms is where I was like, oh, it's really easy to, you know, take this and I don't mind it, and around the 8, 9 kilogram range. Like, yeah, you start to feel it a bit here. Now, again, if you're using this as a gym duffel, and maybe you're just going from the car to the gym and back, you can it'll obviously carry a lot more, you'll be fine. But that's sort of the nature of like some of the thinner fabrics, less structure, and then like the thinner carrying straps, which work great for lighter loads, not so great for heavy things. And finally, as I already alluded to, I don't think this is the best bag for one bag travel. First of all, the lack of the laptop or device compartment is going to be a problem. It's also not a bag that's super easy to work in and out of, because the lightweight fabric does have some structure, but when you're working in and out of, you know, a bag, you need a little bit more structure, and this bag will kind of collapse in on itself when it's empty, and I'll show you that in a moment here. And then I do think that, you know, the wide opening is very attractive for that use case, but the fabrics itself, and while they are robust, like, they're not like super, like they're not fully waterproof. They will, you know, obviously take damage. You're dragging them over rocks or whatever. So if you're looking to use this in a more outdoorsy or off the beaten path kind of travel scenario or one bag travel scenario, I think there's several compromises. It doesn't make this the best choice for that. But again, good bag for 2-bag civilized or urban type travel. All right, so next, let's talk about the design and structure of this bag. As I've been rotating it, you've probably noticed that there's a gentle roundedness to all the corners of the bag, but a very definite kind of like longer rectangular prism type structure. And if you look at it from the top, you can kind of see, again, some roundedness. And I think a lot of that comes from the rounded corner as this thing goes over, from this opening, and how it kind of folds over. It gives you this nice rounding here. Overall, I really like the design and structure of it, both aesthetically, which obviously is up to the eye of the beholder, but also in terms of like how its compact size, which is really dense, but like easy to manipulate. You can even, you know, grab the bag like this or from this, and there's also a shoulder strap that I'll show you in a moment here. It stuffs really easily under the front seat of like an airplane, goes in an overhead compartment. It sits kind of, you know, because it's fairly like narrow and not super tall, but it's just a nice compact size. You can even put it next to you on a train or something like that, and you can still theoretically kind of cram it in, you know, in the same space as a person, depending on how big you are. So I just find like it's a really nice, dense, compact design. Looks good. I like the black colorway. The chalk one, which is kind of a white, is also attractive. It has this very lightweight fabric, and this is a recycled fabric, which obviously is a great thing. And it has this kind of ripstop pattern. It's quite robust, and it's actually like held up fairly well. I've been using this for a few months now, and it hasn't really gotten any stains or, you know, attracted any pet hair or dust or anything like that. The materials beyond that as well are also quite good, like these like big YKK or water sealed zipper or water resistant zippers that's also used here on the front. This kind of not seat belt, but like, you know, strapping material, nylon strapping material. We've seen this on other bags, such as the full-fledged, I think some version of the full-fledged Weekender uses a less padded version of this, and we'll talk about the handles in a second here. Just, you know, this heat shrunk paracord pull we first saw on the Venture Sling, and we see this style also used, which I also reviewed previously on this channel. We also see this used in other bags in the Lite series. So it's got some decent materials. I like the way it looks. I feel that the casualness of this bag, particularly with this heat shrunk paracord, which is something of a new-ish direction for Bellroy, works a lot better in this bag. I mean, it doesn't work poorly in the other bags, but I feel like it's starting to be a little bit more resolved in the way that this whole package comes together. It's like a chic casualness, kind of not quite minimalist, but in that spirit, but with some playful casual touches. And it's very usable because of the shaping and how everything kind of, fits inside of there. And I think that it also makes this a very versatile bag. Now, right now I've got a bunch of stuff inside of the bag, but let me take out some of it briefly just to show you how the bag, I'm not going to take out everything, but how the bag has a little bit of structure. So right now there's, nothing inside of here, but the bag has a little bit of structure. As you can see, it'll stand up on its own very easily, even when somewhat empty. Now, if you take everything out and you put stuff in the pockets in the front and the back, it'll collapse in on itself. But like this makes it super easy to load. There's also some, it's going to be hard to see on camera here, but this is the bottom of the bag. Oops. And it's got some padding at the bottom, very light padding, but I think that's what's part of what helps it kind of maintain the floor space at the bottom here, like right here, when it's empty, and makes it easier to load out this bag. So you can actually take everything out. I'll go ahead and take everything out here. And you can see when you take everything out, it can still stand up opened on its own. But if you load a bunch of stuff inside of the back pockets, it will start to collapse in on itself. So overall, I think that this is a really, at least for me, appealing blend of structure and lightweightness while it's not like being overly built. Okay, and I think one more thing I forgot to mention is that this is a bag which, while it does have some amount of ability to shift the distribution of the overall, capacity, because it, kind of does kind of have a rounded shape, and you can kind of, have it come out a little bit more in the center, or you can pack it all the way up full. This is not a bag that deals well with being overstuffed. So there are bags like the Bellroy Weekender that I'll show you at the end here, and I've previously reviewed on this channel, that I think handle being overstuffed amazing. There's a lot of like gussets and stretch to the fabric, etc. This one, there's no stretch to this nylon material, and there's no like a lot of gusseting or anything like that inside of there. So like once it reaches a capacity, it does reach its capacity, but it's a very, I think a malleable bag until that point. Okay, so next, let's talk about how this bag carries. So there's two maybe intended ways and maybe one other unintended way of how you can carry this bag. The number one way that I carry this bag is with these two, straps at the top here. And they're, about this high. It makes it very easy, I would say, for like the average size person to be able to carry this bag at their side comfortably. Again, because the bag is fairly narrow, it's quite easy to walk with it. It doesn't like bang into your knee or bang into other things. We've seen versions of this material made of this handle material on other Bellroy bags, and then they'll list the materials on their website, because it changes sometimes depending on the colorway or material way. There's a little bit of light, I don't know if it's light padding so much as it's been sewn over, so you have a double layer, which does make it a little bit more comfortable. And as you can already see, like it sort of conforms a little bit to your hand. And then if you have to, like it's quite adequate, I believe, or appropriate, not even adequate. Like it's quite appropriate for a bag of this weight, which is quite light, and for the contents, again, that you'll carry in this bag up to like 6-7 kilogram range, you're gonna be plenty fine with this one. Now, beyond that range, or for like super long distances, you will start to feel the overall just thinness, like narrowness of the straps. But for me, for the most of the distance, like walking through an airport or whatever, or even walking like from a train station to a hotel or whatnot, like this has been plenty fine, especially for like, appropriate size loads. Now, one notable thing about these shoulder straps is because they're so short, you can't really like get them over your shoulder. You can, but then you look like you're, I don't know, holding holding something in an American football style, cradle or whatever. So this is not really realistic for going over the shoulder, which I thought was a little bit, not disappointing, but it just is it limits the flexibility in how you can rock with the shoulder, with these handles. Now, there is a shoulder strap. I usually keep it stowed away here. And one last thing, sorry, I forgot to mention, is these shoulder straps are not adjustable, but that's okay. I like the simplicity of this. Now, there is a shoulder strap that is included. I usually keep it tucked away And this shoulder strap is very straightforward, right? It's just a simple, symmetrical shoulder strap. It's adjustable on both ends with these slider buckles, and then it has these gate clips. I don't really like gate clips, and also these things are made of plastic, which isn't great, but it's fine. It's a fairly narrow strap. It has a little bit of air mesh on the side. It's not my favorite shoulder strap in the world, especially because it has the gate clips, but it is adequate if you want to do shoulder strap carry. Now, these mount to two asymmetrical points, kind of very low profile, hook points in here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I will show you how it sort of works. I really dislike gate clips, so partially because no matter how many times I use them, I struggle to get them open without pinching or injuring my finger. They just slide in here, and then you clip it in there, and it's fine. It's a fine carry. Actually, I will show you what it looks like. I really dislike gate clips, though they are fine for this use case. And then you've got a nice shoulder strap, and it's adjustable on both sides, and it's okay. Now, one thing that I noticed is that there's only two attachment points. They're asymmetrical and they're fixed. So if you like to carry the bag on the other shoulder, like if you're a left-hander or something like that, it can feel a little bit awkward because of how this one is hitting in the front. Just something to keep in mind if you usually carry your bag on the left side. For me personally, I don't find that this shoulder strap adds that much incremental functionality to the bag. I also find it a bit annoying. This is actually real. I'm really struggling to get this thing off. I also find it a little bit annoying to attach and remove, and I find that when it's attached, it just adds a bit of fussiness that does away with what I consider some of the advantages of the bag, which is how small and svelte it is and easy it is to tuck into like crannies and crooks and under seats and stuff like that. So I usually just, because it's quite lightweight, I just keep it off and I'll keep it tucked inside in this inside side pocket, which I'll show you here in a moment. But anyway, that's certainly the second way of carrying it. You can carry the bag cross-body as well with that shoulder strap. The thing is, there's not a lot of structure in this bag, so I found that it kind of bowed unpleasantly, or if you had a device in here, I found it put a lot of pressure, like I have a laptop in here right now, a lot of pressure on the laptop. If you had it kind of slung behind your back, like shoulder strap here, bag here. So that's not how I would carry this bag. For me, most of the time I'm carrying it like a weekender or a duffel with just these straps, and it's plenty fine. Now, the third way that I actually previously showed you, maybe not an intentional way, I find it's really easy to like just grab the bag like this, or like pull it out here. There's no handles on the side, but because of the way that this opening works, like it gives this nice little like kind of handle on each side. It's actually, I really find myself manipulating the bag this way a lot. Like you'll pull it out from the overhead bin, grab this and go, or from underneath your seat, you'll pull it out, grab it and go. And you can also pick it up like this, and it's kind of easy to chuck it onto like the security conveyor belt or whatever, rather than like kind of, going like this or something like that. Anyway, I just thought that that was sort of a way that I found myself carrying this bag that was quite handy, that maybe wasn't intended. All right, so next let's talk about the front compartment of the bag and then the main compartment of the bag. So we'll start with the front, and to do that, let me raise the desk up a little bit and flip this bag around. So now what you have is, this is the front of the bag. This is the back of the bag, because that's how front and back works, and you're looking at the top view of the bag. So there is this, let's see if we can get the focus on the right thing here. So there is this kind of water resistant, sealed zipper at the top. There's a little bit of a reinforced bit here. I think it's probably plastic. I don't know. Yeah, I'm guessing it's plastic here. That kind of gives you like a firm lip to pull this one-way zipper against. The zipper, as I've previously shown you, is just a simple paracord with some heat shrunk tubing on top, or some tubing shrunk on it, and it opens one way, and that reveals this front compartment of the bag. And the front compartment of the bag is fairly straightforward. So it's one big dump area. And now we're looking at the front. Like it goes, you can see the whole width of the bag, and it goes all the way to the bottom here. And you can dump stuff in that main compartment, and then there's two smaller organizer compartments on the inside here. Let's see what we can see. So just there's some slight elastication to these pockets, and they don't like seal tightly, so they're more of like dump pockets in how I use them. And then there's this big main area that has nothing except a small keychain, and we'll talk about the keychain at the end here. So in terms of what I have inside of here, like I said, I treat these as big dump pockets, so it's like things that I want to access easily when I'm using this bag as a weekender or a duffel or whatever. So I have some hand cream in here. I have my phone. Usually I'm carrying my phone inside of a sling with me when I'm using this as a weekender, but every once in a while, like if I'm going to the gym or whatever with this bag, I'll just dump my phone and my wallet in here as well. And then also inside of here, I have like a small Matador hand towel, some hand sanitizer, and some chapstick. And I think that's all I've got inside of this, inside of this pocket. And again, so you can see here with that removed, it's a big empty, big empty dump pocket. It's really easy to just toss stuff in and out from the top. And on this one, we have a mirroring pocket. So we have Anchor wireless charging battery with MagSafe, coin pouch, and what else do we have in here? Some AirPods Pros and like some Febreze, in case your clothes get, I don't know, like odors on them. That sounds weird, from the city or life. And then that's it. You can see the two big dump pockets. And then there's this main pocket. And I find that, again, there's no stretch here to this material. So there's a limit to how bulky of an item you can fit in here. But I do find these three spaces are distinct spaces are usable at the same time, which is good. Good balance of capacity. And then there's this simple, not great keychain, key leash, paracording, knotted, heat shrunk tubing, and then like the world's cheapest key clip. In my review of the Bellroy Venture Sling, I kind of lamented Bellroy's like use of really cheap keychains, and this one was even cheaper than like most of their normal cheap keychains. It's weird, I don't know. I mean, they clearly have made this an ongoing continuous choice, but I kind of wish that they didn't. But anyway, that's the one thing that I kind of note about Bellroy products, is they often have that I don't know, it ruins what is otherwise usually like an amazing, it doesn't ruin, but it's a minus point what is otherwise usually like an amazing bag experience. Like, it's all great. And then there's this keychain, this thing that you interact with all the time. I will tell you one thing about this keychain, which is you have to unclip your keys from it in order to use it, because there's no elasticity. And unlike a sling, like the Venture Sling where I showed like in my previous video, you can kind of sling to the front and kind of like just reach out and unlock the door because the sling itself moves. With this one, it's big and it's heavy, and this is not long enough to reach the door. You kind of like hold it up and then like fight against the weight and cargo. So you are always clipping and unclipping your keys from this, and this is just not a good keychain. It's not easy to do that with. So that is a kind of an annoying interaction. I usually just throw my keys in the dump pouch rather than using this key leash. All right, and so next let's talk about the star of the show, which is the main compartment. Now, this I talked about this in the previous review of the Bellroy Venture Sling. This has this bi-directional asymmetrical opening. So you look at the top of the bag, and what that means is like you can open it all the way this way, but it still remains attached at this end. You can open it all the way this way, and it remains attached to this end, or you can do something like this. But just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do the thing. So don't do this. All right. This is definitely a change from how most weekenders or duffels will open. Either a duffel will have a D-style opening where there's a D-shaped flap, it goes like this, and then flaps open, you can just see all this inside. Or you'll have like the doctor's bag style opening where like there's just two sets of zippers, same as this, but rather than joining on each side, they join in the middle. So you open like this, and it goes like opens like this, like a clamshell. In the Venture Sling, I found this a little bit tight in the corner, right? Because it does, if you open it up like this, it's a little bit hard to get what's tucked away in this corner. But in this bag, because of the lightness of the material and the larger size overall, I actually didn't have that problem. And I really liked this opening solution on this bag. I think at these larger sizes is where I really realized the attractiveness or the merits of this kind of bi-directional asymmetrical opening. So it's really easy to open. You do need two hands, I found, to open it. I guess you can kind of pull like this, but the fabric is so light that it kind of tends to get caught in the middle. So this is always a two-handed opening thing for me. Just grab this corner that I already showed you and it rips right open. Very robust zippers. I have no problems like ripping it open and closed, and it's not something that's going to open accidentally without you noticing, but it's not something that's a frictionful experience. You might compare the opening of this zipper to something like on a Mystery Ranch bag. You can go back and look at maybe a couple of my old reviews of like Mystery Ranch bags, I think like the Mystery Ranch Carryology packs or whatever. And they also use like coated zippers, but it's a much more frictionful experience with them. But this one is like just really fast, really good. I consider the access of this main compartment to be one of the great things of this bag, as you've seen, one of the strengths of this bag as you've previously seen. So let me go ahead and flip this bag open. You're looking at the front of the bag here and the back of the bag, and you can see how everything gets loaded inside of this compartment. Now, you will probably notice that there's a lot of like black here. Now, yes, I've chosen a lot of all black pouches and things, so that's usually how I roll, but like this surface and then this surface is also black. So at first you're like, oh, it's really hard to see what's going on. Now there is some contrast lining, which I'll show you in a moment, but this is definitely something I noticed. I guess the easiest solution would be don't have all black internal pouches and stuff, but you know, it's something to keep in mind. Now, this bag, because of its shape that I showed you previously, kind of enforces a slightly vertical style of packing, although you can fit things horizontally like shoes or whatever, especially if you're using this as a gym duffel. This is packed out just how I had it for a few day trip, so as a weekender. Now the first thing I have in here is I've got a couple of pouches. These are Matador. This is a packable tote in case I end up buying a bunch of stuff at the location. And then this is the Matador packable on-grid day pack, which I use as the backpack, so 2-bag travel, but just carrying one from destination to destination. Apropos of this, actually, there's a light packable backpack from Bellroy in the same series. So it is not good. That's the preview on what I think about that one. And that's why I'm carrying a Matador packable day pack instead of that light day pack that matches this, this bag. And then in there, I also have this North Face packing cube that serves as all my clothing and everything in here. And then I've got at the bottom, hair iron, sometimes a tripod. Those are two different use cases. In this case, it's a hair iron because you got to look good or else it don't matter. And then I've got like, you know, a North Face pouch, which has just a bunch of like random, you know, doodads, battery chargers and stuff like that in there. And then I've got my main is another North Face pouch, glam pouch or something like that, that has all of my little different electronic chargers and cables and stuff like that. This is where I'm using for a tech kit these days. Like I've gone from like heavily structured tech pouches or DOP kits to like really soft pouches that basically carry what I need whilst reducing the amount of weight dedicated to the structure. And that is the same ethos as this bag, I believe. Reduce the amount of weight and stuff dedicated to the bag itself and spend that on the contents itself. I've got a Leica Q2 here. That's my usual, like, you know, weekender, like if I'm not going for an intended photo, you know, photo heavy trip, I'll just carry this camera because it's a good camera. And then I've got here the Matador flat pack toiletry kit. Same thing, just weighs almost nothing, and all the toiletries or whatever are just inside, reducing the amount of weight you spend on the packaging, as it were. And then you can see at the bottom, I've got the laptop here. This is a 13-inch MacBook Air inside of the Apple leather cover. This provides enough protection for the kind of travel that I do, which is to say I'm not throwing this bag down the side of a mountain or chucking it outside of like a airplane loading hold or some cargo holder like that. But I do wish that there were a dedicated laptop compartment in this bag. Now with that being said, you can see there's a little bit of contrast on the sides here with these different pockets. This is again the front of the bag, and there's nothing on the front of the bag, but there are these two side pockets here, and then there are two, hard to see, but you'll be able to see in a second here, two back pockets here. Let's talk about the side pockets first. Now, I like the way that Bellroy does side pockets. It just lets you make use of like what is usually a sort of a dead space on the inside of a bag. It works particularly well with this bi-directional asymmetrical opening, in that, you know, it just kind of comes over nicely over the top. I didn't have a lot of problems with like the pockets gapping out here on this bag compared to like on the Venture Sling. Again, I think because of the larger size and the fabric weight. And these pockets are really usable. So on this one here, this is, well, it doesn't matter right or left, it depends on which side you're looking at. I've got the shoulder strap that I previously mentioned, really easy to access if I do need to get it out in a hurry. And then I've got like a gaming controller for like the phone in case, you know, I need to get my Call of Duty mobile on while I'm stuck somewhere. And then you can see here just what that pocket looks like. It's just a very simple pouch, or a piece of fabric, excuse me, that pops out if you need it. It's got a little bit of a little loop here if you need to pull that out. And then it just tucks away, and it takes up 0% volume if you don't need to use it. Now on the other side, now here, you know, we have to zip this side here so we can access this side. You've got exactly the same thing. Another side pouch here. Got like a toothbrush set or whatever in case I need to, like, you know, quickly brushed my teeth or something in the airport, just set it down, zip this open, fish this out, brush my teeth, tuck it back in. And then I've got like a little, what is this? Topo Designs X-Pack pouch that has like a phone charger and a little USB battery or something like that in there. And that's really it for this side. Same deal, like it just tucks away if you don't need it. So that is the two side pockets. And then the last set of pockets on the inside of this bag, I'm going to fold this back a little bit. This is the back of the bag, are two slightly elasticated flat pockets here. Let me flip it around so you can see actually. So this is the back of the bag here, and you can see they're oriented more for like flatter items. So in this one, I've got like some masks in a Night Eyes pouch, a waterproof pouch. Doesn't have to be waterproof, it just happens to be that one. And then a little Muji mesh pouch for like receipts and stuff like that. And on this one, I've got another North Face bag with some little odds and ends, like a little pen or like a phone stand or highlighter or whatever. And then on this one here, I also have like a Bellroy note taker with a pen. And that's really easy to get in and out. And that's it for these pockets. They're dump pockets. They're a little bit loose, even though they do have some elastication. And then you can see you have this giant, big capacity with a little bit of padding at the bottom for this bag. And that's what I really like about this bag, is like it's really easy to just keep it folded open, and you can see like this is what it looks like from the top, and then just dump your stuff inside of there. And it's a really pleasant, I found, loading experience. And so to wrap up this bag, like I think it has a lot of great things going for it. Like its lightweight capacity, or its lightweight philosophy really appeals to me. I think it has a really great capacity to size ratio because of, you know, the materials used. But at the same time, it has enough like pockets here and there to make it quite usable in a variety of scenarios, whilst maintaining that large center capacity. The main downside is going to be that lack of a laptop or device carry in my book. And then also the shoulder strap is not the greatest in conjunction with this bag, or especially for heavier loads, because of just the lack of the structure there. But overall, I'm really happy with this bag, and I would recommend it if you're looking for a lighter weight option that still has a decent capacity and usability for either a weekender travel or like a gym use case. If you're in the market for a bag like this, what are some other bags that you might want to consider? Well, first and foremost, I suppose that an obvious choice would be the Bellroy Weekender. Now, this is actually available in a couple of sizes, and this is the smaller 30-liter one. So nominally, we're looking at the same capacity. This is a little bit misleading because of perspective. Nominally, this bag and this bag have the same capacity. You can see that this bag is a little bit wider, this bag is a little bit taller. I've done a full review of this bag in the past on my channel. I'll link that below. What you're getting here, even though it's the same capacity, is going to be a much more organization and pocketing and just, you know, all sorts of stretch and laptop device carry and external pockets and internal pockets and of course our shoulder straps and all of these different things are just more robust. Depending on your perspective, you may consider the materials on this one to be slightly higher quality. Like there's a leather carrying handle, for example, the shoulder strap's a little bit more robust, etc. Overall, this is actually one of my favorite weekenders. Although these days I'm using this one a little bit more just because I think it's closer to my philosophy of travel. This is a really good one. The downside here is it weighs twice as much here. And it's also squarely designed as a weekender as opposed to a duffel. So like, well, this one would get away with like gym use or something like gym duffel use or whatever. This one is going to probably can't use it as a gym duffel. It's very much a weekender. But a great option to consider. I'll link the full review below. Another great option to consider is the Rofmia Boston Bag M. Now this one is 22 liters, so theoretically slightly smaller than the Bellroy Lite Duffel, but in general I found that they will carry roughly the same things for how I pack. Again, this is though definitely a smaller bag. There's also a larger size available in this one. This one's made out of Dyneema, so it's 330 grams, so about half the weight of this, although again, nominally a smaller capacity. It has very much the same philosophy. It's gonna be hard to see because it's all black, but simple, large compartment, but this one has a laptop compartment. It's gonna be hard to see here. This one has a laptop or device compartment in the back there. It also has like another, it also has a front pocket, which has two additional stretch pockets inside. It does have a shoulder strap. That one attaches on both ends here rather than asymmetrically. And I forgot to mention also the weekender that I had previously shown you has a traditional kind of doctor bag style opening as opposed to the asymmetrical bi-directional opening of this bag, something to consider as well. This one is very much the same philosophy, right? As much devoted to the capacity and carrying as possible, as little weight devoted to the materials as possible without compromising usability. I love this bag. I've done a full review of it. It's also one of my favorite, like light one bag travel, like this style of bag. You can't really use this as a duffel bag. You could probably use this as like a day EDC bag though, right? Whereas this one I think is a little bit too big for that, and also is how it's oriented. This one you can rock at the office or, you know, a professional-ish setting and still use it as a very dialed in lightweight weekender bag. And finally, you have a little bit of a different choice in that it probably is going, if the Rofmia was a little bit more oriented as a Boston bag or weekender type bag, very light, small weekender bag. This one's oriented more towards like a gym duffel. This is the Air Gym Duffel. This is the V1. There's like a V2 or V3 of it. Here's why I'm putting this as maybe a bag you might want to consider. It has the same philosophy, right? Big opening compartment, but coupled with, you know, some different organization. This one has a lot more organization than this one, for sure. It's got like, you know, a laptop pocket on the inside here. On the back here. It's got a laptop pocket. It's got a bunch of internal pockets as well. It's got a side shoe pocket if you wanted to use that, shoe compartment if you wanted to use that. It's also like in Air's traditional style of like this robust, you know, cordura, got, you know, front pockets, so pockets on pockets on pockets. Designed as a gym duffel with some affordances for that. Like for example, this ventilation here. Good capacity, internal water bottle pockets as well. It's gonna be hard to see on that, but internal water bottle pockets there. Overall, like I think that this has got, if you're looking for a gym bag that will also work to carry your stuff to the office or to school or whatever, this, and you know, maybe live your best urban lifestyle, whatever that means. This is gonna be an interesting choice here, but it's also much heavier than this bag. And it's also slightly smaller. It's 24 liters and about 2 times the weight of this bag here. But again, you can kind of see like there's a similar kind of boxy, squarish shaped thing going on here. Nice combination of functionality, but also like big central compartment. There's also a travel duffel version of this bag, which is a little bit larger. If you're looking for that, I don't actually own that one. And so really that is it. If you have any questions about this bag, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. And if I can answer them, I will answer them. And if you have any bags you would like me to review, go ahead and leave those in the comments below. And if I own them, I will review them. Thank you very much.